Dancing Pencils writing clubs are run throughout the various provinces in South Africa. Felicity Keats Morrison penned the writing guide Dancing Pencils and showed her methods of unlocking creativity by using the right brain. Since the book was published, she created the Dancing Pencils Literacy Development Project, a non-governmental and non-profit organization that helps the disadvantaged schools in the country by providing local literature. All the books are written by South African children, teens and adults and published by Keats' company Umsinsi Press. Felicity Keats Morrison has a BCom and UED. Her brief teaching career ended as she desired to write professionally. She's been doing this for more than 60 years, intermittently as a freelance journalist, short story writer, editor of South Africa's Beekeeping Journal, and as a children's author, and in writing books dealing with the unearthing of the talents of the right brain.
I was 28 years old before I fell in love with writing. I remember I was a young mother with two small daughters climbing on my back outside, and I penned a letter to a newspaper, which happened to be the winning letter in the Sunday Times that week, and I got so excited that words could actually be printed and even earn me a little bit of money. And so I thought, well, I would do this at home, and I studied all the various genres, short story writing, journalism, children's writing, and I had fun for a number of years as a freelancer, getting published in newspapers, magazines, all different things, and learning what I could about writing. So I was late in starting, but the love was been a passion for 60 years. And the first 30, I enjoyed it for myself, writing for myself, having books published. And in the last 30 years, I've decided that I found the secret of the powerful right brain, how to unlock it and how it can help people in their lives. And particularly, I feel that rural children would love to find that they can change their lives and make magic happen for themselves. They just find out how that right brain works, because it's not only good for publishing and writing, but for your entire life, because actually this right brain is your higher ethical, moral side, and it guides you through your life. And if you've got a particular passion you want to follow, it will help you reach that goal. It doesn't go in a straight line, it goes all over the place, so you've got to expect a bumpy journey. But you have an exciting life, you get paid well for it, you help other people, and magic exists in your life, and you're never bored, that's for sure. After my journey as a freelancer, I became editor of a South African bee journal for 7 years, learned all about honeybees. I went into the higher department education training course at universities, and I taught in school for about 7 years. And this various knowledge came in handy. And then I decided, no, I would become an author. So my first book was on bees and was published by Tafelberg in 1988, called The Wild Swarm. It was put into Afrikaans because they said the knowledge was so important, children needed it. Two of my first stories I did with my little adult writing housewives. I called it Felicity Keats and Company. And then I was using bond money for my house to pay for publishing. You can't keep using bond money, it runs out. So then I thought, now how am I going to keep on as a publisher? And then I remembered that my granddaughter, aged 4, had laughed at me when I wrote a children's story, which I had followed all the rules: write, polish, edit, check. I'd done all that, and I read it to her, and she laughed. She said, "Grandma, that is so boring." And she made up a story about a stove that ate the kitchen, ate the walls, ate everything. And that was when she was 4. So when she was 8, 4 years later, when I was looking around for something to publish, I thought of this. Now, she was 8. She thought she was a fantastic artist. She drew the people. I couldn't draw people. She's now a graphic artist, so it did lead her somewhere. And she couldn't draw the stove, so I drew the stove. And the children got such good imagination. She had the old stove, ate the food because it got so angry because a new woman came and called it that old stove. So anyway, and so I said to her, how does it, oh, the stove's got arms, she says. You know, the children, they've got wonderful imagination. So that is the start of all my children's writing, because I then started teaching children. and they got published. Then what happened? Engine gave me a project to train every child in 13 primary schools on the Bluff. That's a lot of children, and all their teachers, and published 97 books. That's a lot of books. So that started me off, and I wrote this book in 1999 called Dancing Pencils. And I was brave, and I did 5,000 print copy, and the education department bought some, and slowly these books got education departments, and I started to do workshops around the country. And then what happened was, by that time, I decided that I couldn't keep teaching everybody all over. The big thing was to actually train people as mentors with my knowledge and get them to teach children so that this knowledge spread widely in deep rural areas all over. And that's why when I started the Dancing Pencils writing clubs in 2002, I launched the Dancing Pencils Literacy Development Project, a non-profit organisation, and which is what we're doing now for the Lotto project in Lembi.
It's important that you enjoy yourself, and we're very happy for you, but it's going to talk more about the dancing pencils, which is what myself and Veena have been doing to get you to unlock and use your whole brain, because if you're able to unlock this one, you're going to be able to use your whole brain.
Front page for now, you don't do anything, right? You think about your story. I'm going to put on the music. You're going to close your eyes, and then you're going to breathe in. I'll do the exercise with you. And then when an idea comes about, you start to write on this page, okay? Remember, you write a little bit, and then you leave the space for your drawing. When you are finished with your story, I'm going to give you some crayons, but the crayons will collect up because children are going to use it tomorrow. Then you think of a title, then you think of a name for your story. And a relevant means a picture about your story, and then your name must be clear. Then you turn to the back.
I put in for a very large lot of funding, which I didn't get. And so relatively, instead of doing 175 schools in Ulindi, which was my goal, we landed about being able to afford to do 6 schools in Lembi. That is, train them, feed them, bus them into their thing. Each school said one teacher to be trained as a mentor, which I did, and they picked 15 children who liked writing to go along and be trained by people that I've trained. Anda and Veena, a couple of other people went there, and they did the trainings in the rural area. And the children wrote stories, as were their very first writings ever. And we have now typed those stories, edited them, exactly as the children write, and we don't change anything at all. It's about voice.
And then 5 sentences about your name, surname, age, and school, and a little bit about yourself. Okay? One good news. When you're doing the anthology, the child who has the best picture, your picture will go on the cover of the book. Your picture will be the cover of the book, and whose name will be here? Your name. So one child out of the 15. And remember, Felicity, when she sends the book, she prints the picture straight. It's photocopied straight from your picture. We don't change it.
Rural children can't read books about the lifestyle of the more wealthy, well-to-do children who go off to Disneyland and go on holidays and do things that they don't even know what the word means, never mind. So the experience means nothing to them. But these kind of stories, they mean a lot. So to get the children reading and writing, uplift literacy, we have got the answer. Teach them right brain writing, give them books they can read written by children.
I want you to close your eyes. Whenever we do an exercise, close your eyes, relax. Breathe in, 2, 3, and 4. And breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Now breathe normally. And you will think of an idea. An idea will come into your head. And when it does, and you are ready, open your eyes and start writing your story. I'm Veena Gangaram, a retired school teacher with 36 years of teaching experience, teaching primary school maths. I was also a teacher librarian, and I had various programs throughout the year trying to get children to read and write. But I found that as a teacher librarian, I could ask them to write, but I didn't have the know-how on how to teach them to write correctly. And at that time, the Department of Library, called Elites, asked me to do 5 workshops in various areas like Ndwedwe, Tungat, Newlands West, Newlands East, Inanda. And because of my workshops on how to promote reading, I was invited by Elites to attend a workshop in 2002, April 2002, that was conducted by Felicity Keats on how to develop creative writing. And we had a child by the name of Swastika. She wrote a book called Drying My Eyes, very aptly entitled. Swastika used writing as a form of solace. She had lost her dad in a tragic accident when she was only 8 years old in grade 3. And unfortunately, 2 years later, a similar accident happened with her mum. And she lost her mum in similar circumstances. And then she wrote this book. And I'd like to read a part of it where she says, she explains her gratitude to the dancing pencils. She says, "My name is Swastika Badesi. I am 12 years old. I joined the Dancing Pencils Writing Club in 2002. Writing stories became a means of expressing my emotions, especially when I needed to deal with the tragic death of both my parents. When I first entered the Dancing Pencils Writing Club, I had no idea what a great impact it would have on life. However, as the years passed, I noticed my life changing. I was able to accept the changes that occurred in my life and deal with my losses. Today, because of the Dancing Pencils Writing Club, I am able to express my feelings by writing." So for Swasti, writing became a form of solace. I also discovered that writing helped children who had social problems like abuse. And they wrote about the sexual abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, mental.
It was within the month of July. That month is when I lost my grandfather. My grandfather's name was Christopher Mbubelengiti. He was loving, caring, and he was a hustler. He made money by selling brewed beer. That money he used is for us to survive at home. But thanks to God that he gave him a son to make his legacy grow. The death of my grandfather affected me a lot. I started to not go to school and I missed out on a lot of lessons. The time my grandfather died is when I came back from school. He was quiet, which was different because he used to shout at us. Sitting down and watching TV without doing the house chores. But he did not do that, so he went behind the house and fell there. That's when he took his last breath. I won't forget him, and may his soul rest in peace.
Thank you so much. I'm sure wherever your granddad is, he's looking over you. That's why you can write so well. And just through expressing themselves on this piece of paper and giving it to us, we were able to help a number of children.
Because of the project we're doing in Alembi, one of the schools there, the principal, it was interviewed by Isalesri newspaper, and he said the children were writing so much better with the way we taught them. And so that called the district director in Alembi to call us for a meeting to explain to him the difference between left-brain creative writing, which the schools do, which is actually not creative writing, and right-brain creative writing, which we showed them how to do.
This is a very massive project because I know that this will go a long way in making our learners to be able to, if you are writing, any piece of writing, you cannot write something that you don't understand. You see that? It means that your understanding, your reading for understanding, your entire language proficiency, obviously then you are going to be tapping on all those things through this process of making this kind of an exercise that is displayed and that is happening through this project. I wanted to say that. And then in closing, I'm so grateful about the schools that are part of this project, and I've got no doubt that the type of learners that we're going to be producing are the learners that are going to be very proud of speaking the language, because we know as Africans, we are the only ones who are having the language of learning and teaching in a foreign language. You see that. And that is very challenging for our learners. But if you tap into high schools, primary schools, and be able then to attend to such skills to our younger ones, definitely they will be ready for high schools and they will be able to perform.
Children relax when we go in there and say nothing you can do is wrong. And they write. They just open up and they write publishable work straight away. And you could see the difference in the work the children wrote with having had right brain experience to what they were doing. So now all schools in the Lembe district are going to do right brain writing. And for me, it's a tremendous breakdown. I've been using it for 20 years without having anyone want to incorporate it into all schools in a district. I'm very grateful to Lotto for giving us this opportunity.
Igama nguSanelo kaDlamini from the National Lotteries Commission. I feel I'm at the right place. And thanks for the invite, Felicity. Now, important for the National Lotteries Commission is obviously to change people's lives. That's our slogan. We want to change people's lives. We want to make a difference. When we approved funding at Dancing Pencils, we felt it directly talks to our impact or our intended impact, which is changing people's lives. When the National Lotteries Commission funds, it doesn't only look at the changes that can be made now. It also looks at the possible investments in changing the lives of the people. So in this case, Dancing Pencils talks to changing the lives of the kids, not for the benefit that will derive now, but for the benefit that will be derived in the far future, not even in the near future.
And for my two wonderful filmmakers here in Togo here, they never moan when you say, go to the Northwest province and go to some remote farm and go and interview Michelle Kemp.
We travel to the Northwest to interview one of the products of the Dancing Pencils Literacy Development Project, Michelle Kemp.
I'm Michelle Kemp. I am a writer, a published author. I am a teacher and owner at Montessori Country Kids. I am also a complete bookworm and have an entire library in my house. When I was 11, we started homeschooling, and as a social activity and an enrichment activity, we discovered Felicity Keats' writing classes, and we did some writing with her. Now, the right brain writing was a bit of a challenge for me at first because I'm very left brain and very organized and everything. Even as a child, it took me a while to sort of let go of control enough to relax and actually let the story flow. But once I did, it was an amazing experience. Not only because these stories just started coming out, but also it helped me so much. Even today, with running a business, being the head of school, there's a lot of stress, but writing just really helps that right brain to come through, that relaxation and everything. So I started writing with Felicity, and I published 2 books with her, one when I was 11, one when I was 12. Unfortunately, we then moved up to Joburg, but Felicity even came and did a workshop for us in Joburg, and I carried on writing through my teen years, and it really helped.
They take a plane and they go there. You say, go and drive to Estcourt and go and Kulakani from Cape Town's there. Go and interview him. He's there with his mother. They go there.
My name is Kulegan Makubane. I'm from Estcourt in KZN, and I am a published author of some 21 books and a financial journalist based in Parliament. And I live in a world where I'm working with the art and the craft of writing on a regular basis, and it's gone on to be something that I considered a favorite pastime in my childhood, maybe even a bit of an obsession, to even charting my career path. So my life is pretty much all about writing and storytelling. The first encounter was really reading. Must have been about 4 or 5 years old, and my family, especially my parents, did such a great job of this whole thing of encouraging that kind of thing, encouraging an interest in reading. And I remember a very random memory of me being 5 years old and being able to try and make out the words on I think it was a Tastic Rice advert of all things, and reading it out loud to my mother, and she was so excited. She asked me to do it again in front of my dad, and then it was again in front of my nuclear family, and then again in front of my grandmother.
I'm Satembile Makubani. I've been a teacher for 39 years. Kulegani used to love drawing, and he used to draw cartoons. And every Saturday when I'm cleaning the house, I would collect lots and lots of cartoons, little papers, little booklets that he has written. And when I read those little things that he wrote, I thought, how am I going to get these published? Because they are good, they make sense when you read them.
It was by definitely a stroke of good fortune that my mother had encountered Felicity Keats during a youth literacy event while she was still teaching, and that's when things started to connect, and we were able to link up with Felicity Keats and get work published. It was definitely a great opportunity. Mm-hmm.
So how I helped him is the fact that I got chosen to go to Felicity when we did not even know her. We were told that we are going to a workshop for libraries. So because I loved books and I had started at school to organize a classroom into a library. So I did not wait for someone to force me to do this because I loved it. So I went to that workshop. And then I told Felicity that I have a little boy who loves drawing cartoons and writing little captions. And then she said I must bring whatever is available. And there was a booklet that he had stapled together. It was called Halo. That little booklet with cartoons was published in the same year that we published our first book. So that's how I would say I helped him, exposed him in the writing space and an opportunity to publish. And I'm so grateful to Dancing Pencils for this.
My mother would get her writings, the books that she's done on creative writing and right-brained thinking, and she would pass them on to me, and we would sit together and do the exercises, and some of the writings that I did during those exercises ended up getting published. Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily that I had something pre-written that I published with Felicity, but I took her approach to creative writing and created things there, and that's what ended up getting published in it.
Felicity took a right brain concept training to inmates at Westville Correctional Facility. As part of her course, she taught inmates to unlock the creative side of their brains, the right brain hemisphere, and about being able to use the whole brain to write freely and creatively with ease.
For 3 years, on a voluntary basis, I went there and had to check myself into the prison, climb 6 flights of stairs and see these men in the orange uniforms. And the first time they gave me a really hard time. "You old white lady, what are you doing here? What do you think you're doing here?" But I didn't take any notice of that. I just gave them paper and a pen, put on my music, said, "Close your eyes, pretend you're going to sleep and write for 10 minutes. And once they found out that I shifted them to their right brain, once they found out what they were writing, there was no more problem for them. They wrote a wonderful, wonderful book of poetry. They wrote a book of short stories in Zulu, and they wrote one in English. Particularly, I'd like to talk about him. Fulani Nzuzu, Awkward Journey to Triumph. He wrote a beautiful novel.
My name is Pilani Kosnati Nzuza. I was born in Kwangulos in Hillcrest, and I reside at Nanda right now. I think I met Felicity in 2012 or 13, and I came out in 2014 September. before she came, I think I had a year or two before she came. So when she came, because I was part of a poetry club there in Roseville, just to keep my mind busy and keep myself out of negative things there. So when she came, he introduced herself as someone who can help us out of the place. So we were so excited about someone who can take us out of the place. It's not nice in there. We are not at home there. So each and every minute, anything can happen. So if someone comes and says she can take you away from there, you're excited. So when she explained how is she going to take us away from here, using the right brain, so there was some misunderstanding, and some of the guys even left the club, left the whole thing. But I was lucky enough to be stuck with her, and I was lucky enough to understand what he was talking about, and fortunately enough that even now I'm using my right brain in whatever decision I'm taking. It's perfect. But the difference from the time she came up to now, I'm a totally different person from the one who got there, from the one who had plans of revenge, from the one who had plans of how is he going to treat his life when it comes out. Because I knew that I was buried by the community. I knew that I was angry with the person who made me there. I was angry with all the witnesses. So I had my great plan of how to get back to them. So after getting this right brain, all that died. And only to find I am a real man now. I am a real human now. So part of the reasons why the world is like this is there's no right brain.
While still incarcerated, the impact of Felicity's right brain teaching resulted in Philani Nzuza authoring his own novel titled Awkward Journey to Triumph. Philani, together with his fellow inmates, then penned a compilation of short stories and poetry titled Voices from the Grave, detailing each inmate's personal interpretation of the reality they face.
We had many titles we can give to the book. So we came with this one because it painted exactly what was happening at that time. When someone is getting arrested, his community buries him or her. So when you're there, look, you can see outside the book, this is the grave. There's a cross there. It's the prisoner inside the grave. The warder has his hand to the prisoner. He's supposed to help the prisoner. But it's even hard for the prison warders as well, because there are many people, there are thousands. The last time I was there, were more than 4,000. So how many warders do we have? So they are trying to help the prisoners, but some of them are corrupt. Few corrupt people can corrupt a lot. But with people like Felicity teaching the right brain, they help the warders, because they don't help the warders exactly. They help an individual with his mindset. So if you help an individual with his mindset, he can teach a few around himself. Wherever he is, he's teaching even unaware that he's teaching, but as he's using the right brain, he's teaching other people. So I was talking about the book. As they bury you from outside, the people like Felicity gave us voices. They made us talk by writing these books. So these are the voices from the great people, because people have forgotten about us. People only think negative about us as they're there. But such people with the right brain concept, they help us get our voices out. And as our voices are out, people understand us differently now. So by the time you're going out, people, they know better about you than the way they would think about the prison itself. And whatever they hear from news, from TV, and from stories that are played on TV, placing or saying negativity about imprisonment, jails, and something like that. But if you've got the right brain and you've got these concepts, you come out tops.
With the introduction of democracy, Felicity had to see creative ways to tap into different markets.
And the market changed. The publishers didn't know what they wanted anymore, and they rejected my work. Said not because it wasn't that good. It was because they didn't know they had a new reading public. A massive amount of people would be reading. And so I stopped writing and I decided to teach it. Now that's where you really learn about your craft, when you start to teach it. Because in that teaching, I use other people's work to start with 3 housewives. And I use, like, the Right Brain Experience. I bought that book because of the cover, but the information in there was hugely valuable for me, learning about right brain. This is writing for children, becoming a writer, extremely beneficial book, teaching about the 2 parts there is to a writer, not just the left brain. There's the right brain, that's the creative side of you. These books helped me, and this one, Writing for Power. I went into a bookshop to buy somebody a Christmas birthday present, and this book had a very white cover with this red, and I knew this. I've never seen this book again, and I've read it and read it. Writing with Power, so much information in there. So using that information, I started with 3 housewives, and immediately they started to get published in newspapers and magazines. A couple of them had tried for years to get published and never been able to. So I suddenly found out, wow, I've found out the secret of accessing this side of the brain. This is creative problem solving. This just regurgitates everything you know. This is about newness. It's got power. Somewhere or other you connect with a muse up there that brings down words and ideas and thoughts, and magic happens.
I studied right brain writing for myself to write, but also to become a mentor with Felicity. And the idea of the right brain is just amazing for me, because I can still hear Felicity saying the whole close your eyes, take a deep breath in. I do it with the kids that I now mentor and teach, and it's every single week when I do it, I hear her voice coming through. And it was incredible. During lockdown, I had the opportunity to actually do an online writing session with Felicity, and it was those same words in her voice. It was such a powerful, I nearly cried. It was such a powerful moment, because as soon as I just hear that, my right brain is like, okay, I can be free, I can come out, this is my time. It's not this academic, rigid, organized left brain. It's now this opportunity to actually be creative.
I actually very much enjoy the approach, and it definitely makes a lot of sense intuitively to me. So Felicity Keats teaches everyone that she trains in creative writing that the brain is made up of 2 sides or hemispheres, which would be the left brain and the right brain. And the left brain basically controls logic, reasoning, thinking, connecting dots, numbers, all of that. And the right brain is more intuition, feelings, emotion, creativity. And the trouble is that when you try to do something creative, the left brain tends to butt into things, and it comes with logic and criticism. And that criticism, while you're doing this creative activity, tends to come in and it discourages creativity, because the left brain is loud and it says, that's not right, that's not the approach that you do it at, just criticism, which is not bad, because that's what it's there for, but it can frustrate the free flow of the creative process. And when critical thinking comes into the creative process, it can discourage the creativity. So what Felicity Keats says is that you can't shut out the left brain, the critical brain, but you can put it to sleep.
So when she arrived and explained this right brain plan, the first thing that happened to me, the anger was released, because I used mainly the right brain. So anger is the part of the left brain, because it's negative in every aspect. So her introducing the right brain made me who I am today, because now whatever decision I'm taking, it's based on the right brain. So there are many different negativities there. So when you're getting with the right brain, when she first taught us, you are told to close your eyes, think far away from where you are, then start writing. Whatever you have in your mind, start writing. So you cannot think anger if you are far away from where we were. So the anger is where we are. So if she says, think of anything far away from there, she explains some of the things, she told some of the stories with the radio turned very low. And that takes you away, definitely away from there. You think of something positive, you think of something calm. So your nerves are calm, you are thinking positively, whatever you think is positive. Actually. So whatever you write now, when you read it, after because she said, think of this and that with the low music, start writing. When you're writing, you are far away from the place and you're at your own space, somewhere far. As you're writing and writing and writing, then stop. You're reading the thing. You get a different person from the one inside the center. So that's how it is. So even now, as I'm outside now, whenever I'm facing tough times, whenever I'm facing negative times, I stick to my right brain. Then I get positive results.
Some teachers told me that this thing of opening the right brain is working, because now the children are so open, they can explore, their minds are creative. They can write better stories than ordinary stories that we used to be told to write in schools, like write a story and you're given a topic which just made you focus on one concept, this topic. But if you are free to write what comes out of you, then you just write freely, creatively. So I think it did help the children. It did help them. Most of them were the brightest children in the school. You would see them maybe in assembly receiving certificates for various subjects. So yes, it did help them, opened their mind and brought back their creativity, because this creativity we're all born with, but it is narrowed down by the left brain that is more powerful than the right brain. And as a teacher, I know how we kill the right brain. When I say to a grade R or grade 1 child, draw your mother, they will draw a circle and a triangle and two sticks for hands. And then I say, hi, your mother doesn't look like this. That kills the creativity that is in the child. So we must, even if you see that this is a stick figure, it's not the mother. If the child says, this is my mother, yes, it's the mother, so that you don't kill what is inside the child.
I was struggling with writing, and then my mom offered me to go see Felicity, which helped me with writing essays and drawing and punctuation and everything like that.
The moment the child learns to say, I can do it, that's a positive comment, immediately it goes to the brain. And it tells the child, you know what, nothing is impossible. So I'm going to try.
The scary cat. Once I went for a walk in the jungle. There were lots of trees, so I had to just push my way through, till I saw a group of friendly animals, but they all ran away. Then I saw a path, so I followed it. I could hear meowing, and I turned round the corner and saw a cat. He was crying. I said, why are you crying? Oh, I didn't see you there. I was crying because I need an owner. Will you be my owner, please? Sure, I said, but I do not eat meat, so you will live a life of no meat, only milk and fruit. Okay, said the cat. So we went home and had dinner, and of course it was milk and fruit. I wrote that when I was 10.
If we can get them to write first, reading comes. And I look at the way that Felicity teaches to write, using your right brain, that there's no mistakes. There's no pressure about spelling or handwriting. I remember as a child my handwriting was terrible, but it didn't matter. It was about getting your voice, your story down. And because of that, we then went on later and edited and did things. The handwriting, the spelling, all of those things came because the passion, the interest for writing was there.
When you ask kids to read, they'll tell you it's boring. Unless you get that one or two who'll say, you know what, I enjoy reading and I read. But if you show them a skill, how to go about it and why you should read, what it does, then definitely the smart kid, even if he is not very good and he knows his taught skills, he will want to do it.
In my classroom, when we are doing writing, there is no correcting of spelling. There is no correcting of handwriting. We just allow their writing to come. And it's incredible to see the kids. They all write these elaborate stories, and yes, they're the only ones who can read them. But that's okay because they feel that pride that they've written a story. And then we'll sit together and we'll put it into a book. And we'll then work on the spelling and we'll show them things and how to correct their handwriting things. But we're not destroying that spark of writing, that is that passion, that right brain. As soon as you start being critical and, oh, you've got to write this many words or this many things and it's got to fit into this box, you're destroying that right brain and that child's confidence and creativity. So instead, if teachers could learn this method of actually being able to allowing children the freedom to write and write whatever they want, they will discover that those kids will improve in all areas and it will really be a benefit to them and to this country.
Felicity's Dancing Pencils project has touched the lives of many far and wide. Her encounter with Setembile Makubane from Escort sparked the idea of a creative writing club called Bubbles.
Bubbles is a club that I created because Kulegani was not in any of the schools that were involved in creative writing. So it was centered around Kulegani. That's why we used his nickname, Bubbles. I would advise the parents to observe their children and see what talents the children have so that they can nurture whatever they have. So I also saw that Kulegani is good at speaking, telling stories.
I still remember my first story. It was Jenny and the Trouble of Going to Bed Late. And it was all about a bird who was basically going late to bed and ended up not being able to roost in a safe part of the tree, and the cat caught her. And eventually she was saved and it was all fine, but she learned that she should listen and go to bed on time. So that was one of my first stories when I was 11 years old, and Felicity helped me publish it. And the boost that it gave me was amazing. I was an extremely shy child and it gave me such confidence. I remember having to do a book signing and I had to actually learn how to do a signature for the first time, and that was amazing. And talking to people about my books and things, it really helped me come out my shell.
Oh, I didn't tell you about Sagidi Primary School in Halembe. That's the star school of there. 5 years ago they learned the right brain method. They've been publishing every year. Writing clubs can publish, and these are books that these books have been published over the years. And the circuit inspector was so happy with that school because the children are educationally all read, all write, all flying. Parents are so happy. They called for me to go there. It's a deep rural area, and when I went there, they gave me their best. These are rural people. They haven't a lot of money.
Primary school. Lwangithokozisa lolu hambo lokubhala. Ngiyabonga kothisha bakwaSogidi ngokwenza lolu hambo lube nenjabulo nentokozo. Leli talente ngizoliqhuba nakwabanye. Uthiwa phela umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. Nami ngingumbhali ngenxa yothisha bakwaSogidi futhi ngohlala ngingumbhali. Okancane kancane has won a national award, as Ayanda has said.
So can you imagine if school by school you have happy parents, happy children, happy teachers, a happy community, you'll in no time at all have a happy country.
I remember at 17 when I published The Funny Farm, I flew down to Durban to do a book launch, and it was incredible for me. At the time when I was down there, I had entered a competition with the Oprah magazine about real women making a real difference, and I'd nominated Felicity because, I mean, she makes amazing difference. And the Oprah magazine actually phoned me while I was down in Durban and said that they had chosen Felicity as one of their winners. But they'd been so impressed by my story as well that they actually decided to double the prize and award us both the real woman making a real difference. And while I was down in Durban, they organized to do a whole photo shoot. Felicity and I were in the Oprah magazine, and they also gave us each 10,000 Rand, which I then used to put my books into underprivileged schools. And it was an incredible experience. As a 17-year-old, it was amazing. I remember walking through the airport afterwards to come home, and everyone was staring at me because I was all done up and everything, and wow, it just felt so good. And the fact that they had been so inspired that they'd included me as well, that was definitely one of the highlights of my life. So yeah, that was a big thing. Also just being able to continue now writing and publishing and sharing the stories and things with the kids. And I'm getting quite a bit of recognition within the Montessori community and other teachers. I'm sharing some of my stories with them that we can use in the classroom. And it's incredible how people are just so enthusiastic about it. And I always say to them, because they're like, how can you do this? How can you come up with this? Anyone can write. You just have to believe that you can, and you have to allow your right brain the freedom without worrying about making mistakes or making it perfect.
It's been fantastic. There have been a handful of writing festivals and literary festivals that I've been lucky enough to attend. I think really the first one that really stands out was the Cape Town Book Fair in 2012. That's where I launched a book called Races, Rats and Rubbish Bins, which I don't have here, unfortunately, but it's a dark satire book about, inequality in South Africa using the metaphor of rats. And it was something that I hadn't expected because, it was, an institution other than Umsinsi Press calling me out to travel to Cape Town and I got to launch my book there. I was very grateful to the Cape Town Book Fair for that. I got to participate as a panelist at the Time of the Writer 2 years later, 2014. Didn't launch any books at the time, but it was a great opportunity to be around seasoned authors who have so much experience and so much wisdom and knowledge to share. And we're definitely grateful for that opportunity. Got to really meet Unik Mhlongo over there, a real force in South African literature, and it was a pleasure to just get to know him. And then the very next year I got to go to Kenya for the Story Moja Writers Festival. That was also the festival where I met the author of Nervous Conditions, Veena Gangaram. That was fantastic, and left me quite excited. So I definitely enjoy those because the festivals are a great opportunity to share ideas, to learn, and to open your eyes and broaden your horizons. And I've enjoyed every single one that I've ever been on. Yeah.
eThekwini municipality granted me a Living Legends Award in 2011. That's 10 years ago. I'm still alive. They actually want to give it to you while before you die to say thank you for it. And that was for academics nationally. So that was recognised for the work I've done nationally.
I firstly just want to say how amazing Felicity is. I mean, she really changed my life. The confidence, the inspiration. I don't know where I'd be today if I wasn't a writer. The fact that I'm an author as well, I've published as well, is great, and it's a huge achievement for me. But the fact is that I'm a writer, that I can just write, is an incredible gift. And I think it's so important that we need to give this gift to our future generations. We are living in a time where the world is in crisis, the world is changing. We need to find some way to help the world improve, and the only way we can do that is with the kids. So if we can get this writing, and especially this right brain method, into schools, into just the wide world, and make people aware that there is a way to get all of this. It helps with the emotions, it helps with trauma, it helps with everything. And the fact that kids can read stories that are written by other children. They can share their experiences because they understand each other. As adults, we can't understand them. We've forgotten. It's a long time since I was a child. But children can understand other children. It's incredible for me, especially with different cultures and things, to see how children, when they're reading a story that another child in South Africa has written, to see that they have this shared experience. They're not having to try and figure out what this American word is or what this other term is. They can actually really relate to the stories. And it's an amazing experience for me. So I think we need that. We need that connection. And writing will give that to us.
With Dancing Pencils, it's an initiative that gets young people to tell their stories and to get into writing. And if you're going to read your own writing, you're already reading, and you're getting a keyhole view into the world of how wonderful reading can be, and then that's a seed that can grow into something much bigger. And also, if you're able to do this, I found that one can become more confident in themselves and self-assured because you're able to speak to the world from your own perspective as a result of having written. And I think it's something fantastic, and I think as many children as possible should get into it and should be allowed to explore the wonders of right-brained writing.
Being there is a mountain to climb. So if you're giving it a second chance, try by all means, even if you didn't meet Felicity, but try by all means to relax and accept what you are given as the most important thing in life. Because it happens there. Day in and day out, when you're going maybe to hospital or to visit, you find someone going home with a stretcher. So getting in there and getting out, it's a blessing. Meeting some people at Felicity, it's more than a blessing. But I cannot call her a savior. I would like to do that. But what she did to me created a new person in me, created a new person even to my family. So if the community can give ex-offenders a second chance, if ex-offenders can take what they are given in both hands and use their right brain, the world will be a very good place to live.
These are our success stories, not just me. It's what other young people have done with their lives when they've actually found the right brain and they've been able to make magical things happen for their own lives, and it helps other people as well.
And these are just some of the many success stories from the Dancing Pencils initiative. Felicity's right brain training has resulted in the spread of good writing in many parts of South Africa, leading to better school passes and better job opportunities. Her remarkable work continues to inspire and encourage.